So Blink-182, they put out a song and a music video called One More Time. And in that, there's a music video that taps into all the former music videos. So if you're a fan for a long time, like I've been, they have all these funny music videos. They have great stories, super funny. This is the rock and roll startup. It's business, it's music, it's entrepreneurship at its finest.
Ready to rock?
Welcome to the third episode of the Rock and Roll Startup. We are not joined by anybody today. It's just going to be me talking to you a little bit about the headlines that I've seen and a little bit about this recent Beatles song that I think has some applicability for us as entrepreneurs and business people. The new song's called Now and Then. It's a demo that they taped back in the 70s. John Lennon, and when he was singing and the piano, they were muddied. And so what they did to salvage this song and make it the quote-unquote last Beatles song is to clean up the AI, clean it up with AI. And so by doing that, they were able to re-release a new song, get kind of that Beatlemania going again. I'm seeing a lot of reels and stuff tapping into old Beatles songs, and I'm a Beatles nut. So I grew up listening to the Beatles. My brother-in-law is probably the only person I know that's a bigger fan than I am, and that's John. He works at Mid-Utah Radio, so shout out to them. But the main thing is they were able to salvage something that was deep in the bank that they weren't able necessarily to use. So that may be something that, as a business owner, you may be thinking about some maybe collateral or assets or things that you haven't necessarily been able to utilize in your media library. Maybe there's some video that you're just kind of like, I just don't know how I'm ever going to use this. I don't think it's a smart idea to get rid of source footage very often, because you want to be able to tap into some of that content that you can either post on LinkedIn and you can house it in other places. And you can kind of take a note out of what Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr have done with this to be able to revitalize and bring back some of that nostalgia. Tapping into nostalgia has been all the rage with the latest marketing. I mean, you've got the recent Top Gun that's come out in the last year. You're tapping into Barbie for a lot of the ladies this year, and Mario for the young boys. And so we're tapping into these things that we grew up with, and as Hollywood's tapping into that, they're making boatloads of money with it. So how do you as a business owner be able to leverage the same ideas as you're putting together cinematic ideas for your brand, or putting together cinematic stories to connect with people, your sales story? Because in the sales process, all you're doing is sharing emotion and you're sharing a story. So if you can tap into some of that nostalgia that other people are feeling through your brand, you're going to have a way better chance of being able to convert into a sale. So that's one of the main things that I wanted to tap into as we look at the song. So the main thing with this rock and roll startup is it's mainly focused on business, but as we learn from different rock and roll icons and we see how they incorporated entrepreneurship and marketing into their processes, they built some of the biggest brands ever. How maybe if you think about how a rock and roll band puts together a community and they sell merch and they have a place where people go. I think about the times I used to go to Vans Warped Tour. And there was a place that I could go, and I was the only clean-cut kid in the room of everybody's wearing, nose piercings, tattoos from everywhere, and I loved it. I felt more accepted there than at church sometimes, and I always would joke that when I was a missionary that, I feel like church should feel like Vans Warped Tour. It's just like, oh, we both like the same things. Cool, we're friends, That's how simple music can be, and if you can tap into some of that with your business, hey, we both like video content. We both like creating a safe environment to be able to talk about business. We can be friends. We're part of the same networking group. We can be friends. We're connected to the same people on LinkedIn. We can be friends. If you can tap into those emotional connections, you as an entrepreneur, salesperson, a marketer, you'll be able to make headway and be able to get more momentum in what you do. Some other thoughts that have been on my mind as well that I think would be worthwhile for the audience of the Rock and Roll Startup is, as we are crafting our messaging, I've been talking more with the team from Braid, and what's been fantastic is finding ways to utilize their software and what I do. And so with that, I've been able to get testimonials. I've pieced together some interview content that I didn't necessarily actually have to sit down for it. I recorded one video, and it went something like, hey, it looks like this. And it said, hey, you should leave me a review for the time that we worked together. Or the one I recently did with my other buddy, his name's Colton. We did one where I asked him, hey, give me your insights to this new recent antitrust lawsuit between mortgage brokers and what happened, because I didn't really know much about it. I saw it on a LinkedIn headline and I was like, I'm going to talk to a real estate agent and see if it affects them, just for content purpose. And I used that. I didn't have to sit down with him and hop on a call on Zoom or anything. He just sent me the piece. I cut it, put it together, added a little motion graphic, and called it a day on LinkedIn. But the nice thing about utilizing software like that is if you think about different pieces of how you can leverage AI software to make your life easier, you'll be able to triple your output. One of the biggest things at Video Supply is because we don't have a massive team in-house, that we are contracting. Actually, scratch this. Don't mention that. I want it to be framed this way. At Video Supply, when we are trying to connect with all the people we work with, at Video Supply, we can triple the output of what most companies can do because we are able to leverage AI tools, and it keeps the costs lower. To be able to not have to spend $50,000 on a video production that we can produce for 5 to 10, that's a huge win. When you work with a Hollywood studio, there's a lot of overhead that goes into it. There's these production houses that have a lot of overhead with rent and all these other places, studio space. And because of the way that we've built our structure and how we can accomplish things a lot more lean, you save money, and then it makes a cinematic quality product that doesn't necessarily have to cost a ton. And it can be produced anywhere. So finding a way that you can leverage different AI tools is super huge. There's a really cool tool that I found recently called Roll.AI, and I think I've mentioned this in past videos as well. But what it does is for my setup, what I have is I'm just recording on a webcam right now, but typically I would actually grab my iPhone and I'd have it on my ring light up here, and then I would be recording the audio through my recording software here. And with Roll, what it will do is it will perfectly center me, it will cut a reel directly from it, and it will make it really, really smooth to be able to work with it. And so if you are looking for tools like that, you need to keep your eye out for all the different resources, and maybe I'll share a link to some of the ones that we've been able to find and leverage that will make your life easier. But then as you're using those, you'll realize how much of a content need there is. So overall, the biggest thing with this week of the Rock and Roll Startup is just to stay hungry, stay at it, make sure that you're looking for how anything in your life can help improve your game. Be open to anything. And as I was listening to that new Beatles song, there's all these other bands that I grew up with. Blink-182 got a new album. Green Day just released 2 new songs a few weeks ago, or like a week ago. And man, it's just a good time to be listening to music, but it's also a good time to be tapped into how are they able to leverage things. Maybe it's their design. How are they connecting with people that way? And it's something that inspires me to keep creating, not only as a musician, but also create as a creative in the video space. How are they utilizing video? So Blink-182, they put out a song and a music video called One More Time. And in that, there's a music video that taps into all the former music videos. So if you were a fan for a long time, like I've been, they have all these funny music videos. They have great stories, super funny, kind of toilet humor, dorky. And the thing that I loved about this music video is they kept it serious because Tom DeLonge's back in the band, and we're all stoked about that. The background of the video changed on the beat, which made it visually entertaining, which is one piece. It helped them get more sales and more eyeballs on the content, but also it tapped into every former music video. Every single one of them had a call to it. So maybe there's some ways that you could think about how different brands have done that in the past. Maybe there's like a McDonald's ad that you can think of where they look at some of the stuff they've done back in the day and what they do now. And there's nostalgia around lots of different brands that you maybe grew up with. And that's where we need to kind of market like a rock star a little bit more to tap into those pieces, because that is all the rage right now because it works. If you can tap into what people emotionally connect with, what were people jamming and screaming in their car when they were driving growing up, how can we get into that moment and be able to leverage against that? I saw that Walmart put out a recent ad for Black Friday with Mean Girls, and I think that is so funny. The gals that were in that, I think Lindsay Lohan's even in the ad, which is pretty cool. And when I was watching those ads, not only are they funny, they have the characters that are perfectly in time, it's like they stayed kind of the same, but they grew up, and I just love the emotional connection there. It makes it more likely that I want to go to Walmart because I think that's freaking hilarious. And so how can you tap into that? And with Video Supply, just a shameless plug here, we are doing a brand movie service that you ought to look into. If you are a company or somebody who is trying to promote a product or service, you need to find a way to have a cinematic piece of content that will last for a very long time. The benefit of the cinema is that you can go back and watch that piece of content, and it's kind of timeless in a way. If we can create this piece of content for your brand, it lives on your website, lives on your social media, it can be cut into short form as well. But the main thing is that 2 to 3 minute story. Who are you? What do you do? And then it motivates people to purchase something. It motivates people to buy. Incorporates animations, good filming. So you should really consider, if you're somebody who is interested in video content or interested in trying to convert more leads into sales, really consider how video can empower your sales team. And think about how this brand movie could be positioned in a way that it could be used in outbound emails. You could have people show it on their iPad if they're a door-to-door guy. There's so many ways that you can incorporate this type of content, and it will convert people into sales because you don't actually have to be there in person to get a sale. That's the power of video content, and it lives on forever and ever and ever. There are pieces of YouTube content that people are watching now that were created with labor 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that's amazing. That's the power of it, is if it can be housed and seen, and it's something that can motivate people to engaging overall. So lots of thoughts here. Mainly, stay hungry, stay at it. Appreciate you guys listening to the little pieces of content. We have some decent views that I'm kind of impressed with. So if you guys are interested in supporting and learning more, go to videosupply.com and go to contact us. And then if you're interested in being on the podcast, reach out there. But if you are interested in video content and working with us, I'm one of the project managers here, and I would love to make sure that we get you guys some video content that works, that converts, and that is super duper awesome. Very fun, engaging. So, yeah, that's it for me this week. Thanks so much for joining us in the Rock and Roll Startup. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for joining us on the Rock and Roll Startup Podcast. If you're interested in being a guest, visit us at videosupply.com/contact. Again, videosupply.com/contact, and inquire about the podcast. Also, if you're interested in utilizing our video services, book a time with us. We'd love to sit down and chat and see what your goals are. Again, thank you for joining us for the Rock and Roll Startup.